Now it's about time we got into our panel discussion, the very first of it for the afternoon. And we're looking at the money side of things. In our language, it said, if you see a nice property, if you see a nice building, if you see a nice something outside, you'd ask yourself, how did it come about? Cash. Do you have to pick up 1 million CDs, $1 million, £1 million to go purchase a property? Or you could go the way where you could be giving some room to go about it and use the excess cash for other things as well. So you can do so many things at a time. And that's what we call mortgage. We're going to have a discussion on mortgages and real estate. And first of all, I'm inviting Afua Owusu of Goldkey Properties. Afua. Next to join Afua on the panel, we have Michael Kyei-Ayensu. Michael is with Agyekum West. Michael would have a minute quickly. Yes, Michael. Just introduce yourself and what you do with Agyekum West. So can you borrow the microphone from Afua? Thank you, Michael.
Afternoon. Hi, good afternoon. What I would like to say first is many of our parents and our older generation struggled, left Ghana to set up life here in the UK. So I think it's time for us to do the same and struggle and set up life in Ghana. My name is Michael Kyei-Ayensu, born and raised in East London, set up Agyekum West Limited in 2012, and I've been living in Ghana since. Bespoke builders, now property developers. We try to take out the complicated parts of building and owning a property in Ghana. I'm not a legal person, but I know the law of the land of Ghana.
Thank you, Michael. Then we have, I don't know whether to say from On Point or from the stable where we give birth and bred Ghana property and lifestyle. Anna Agyekum is our next panelist. And I want to remind you that when we're done with the lawyers and the other experts and you want to have a quick something with them in the surgery, the desk there would be available for you. Well, Anna, thank you very much. Well, introduce yourself. Yeah.
Hello.
Good.
Yeah. So as you know, I'm Anna Agyekum. I'm part of the panel today just to give an overview on banking. As I said, I'm not legally regulated to sell any banking services, but I can certainly give an overview here on behalf of Access Bank. Access Bank is one of the fastest growing banks on the continent, Nigerian owned, and they've managed to expand their bank also to other territories in Europe as well as Africa. Their primary source is to enable transitioning to Ghana with their banking services, not just with diaspora mortgages, but opening bank accounts and also just that day-to-day savings. What I can say is the process for accessing mortgages to buy in Ghana is more or less the same process of what you would have here. Those who are familiar with obtaining mortgages in the UK, you would still have to prove that you're credit worthy. Remember, anyone lending you money in an institution just wants to know that they're going to get the money back. So that's the basic principle. Do you pay your bills on time? Are you earning enough? What are your current financial commitments? And that's all they want to know. You know, this is a universal rule. trying to get a mortgage in Ghana is no different. But we're quite lucky that there are now diaspora mortgages to help you not only buy a property, but they also do equity release where if you own a property in Ghana, you want to release some money. You know, the system is now sophisticated enough to facilitate those things. So as an overview, these are the services that you can typically get from Access Bank. And as I said, I'm just here to give an overview. I would definitely encourage you all. As I said, the table is there. We've got the two lovely young ladies there to take down your details and know that a representative from Access Bank will be in contact with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think you kind of have answered my first question. But I will throw it out here and ask that, what are the trends? Now, when we talk mortgages and financing of property acquisition, we want to borrow. What are the trends in the system at the moment? Maybe I'll start with you, Afua, because people will come to you and say, well, I want to buy, but I don't have the money up front. What do I do? What are the trends going on in Ghana? And just to assure you, I'm growing old, so I talk less. So I'll give you more time to ask questions. Afua.
So I guess over the last year, we've seen a lot of diasporans come up to us asking for the diverse ways of financing our properties. I think the mortgage route is one. I think there's not much information out there, especially with the local banks in the country, that they want to tap into. So that's one. Two, there's also been a lot of questions on flexibility in terms of payment plan. People are asking, okay, why are developers limiting it to just 24 months? Why not spread it within 60 months? And yes, we're listening and we're coming up with plans and concepts. More than 60 months maybe will be a bit of a stretch, but we are looking within that constraint to see what we can do. And I think these are the two main ones. There might be more I might have missed, but the mortgage, I think, is limited information that they're asking lots of questions. And yeah, I think those
so
two.
Michael, what's your experience in this area?
Okay, so I used to do mortgages in the UK, so I can kind of compare.
Right.
In Ghana, we don't have that credit system set up. The name of roads are now coming in. So you realize in the UK, you can reference your credit from where you live.
Right.
Whereas in Ghana, we're now getting the names of the roads. So you have to kind of realize the security for the banks is quite difficult. So we're used to putting cash down and using, the construction period to acquire a property. So that's the culture in Ghana. So when you come to Ghana, you need to kind of take off your UK hat and put a Ghanaian hat on. And get used to the system where it's more cash heavy. Mortgages are now coming in, but the terms are quite different to what we have in the UK.
Right. Anna, you have been managing properties for people, and people come through you. We've had several testimonies as to how credible your bit is. What's been going on? How are you helping people, and what are they getting from your directions?
I think I encourage people to really think about what they're doing. I will ask very thought-provoking questions, so there's an understanding on what you're doing. And I think that part is really important, the consultancy part, where myself, Victoria, and the team will take time out to understand the client. What is it you're doing? What's the aim? To try and understand, is it a lifestyle option? Is it an investment option? And many of our clients are people who can't afford to live in Ghana full time. They want to have a investment footing in Ghana. And the best way they can do that is by inquiring maybe a studio or one-bedroom flat. That seems to be very popular with the UK diaspora. And they see it as an income-generating machine for them while they're transitioning how they're going to position themselves in the continent. So companies like Goldkey and a few of the others in the room can offer that management service. So that's what I'm seeing generally, what we offer people. So it's a step-by-step guide. And some clients I can even see who've come back here, who I've met probably in 2017 and said, Anna, we've just been gathering money to make sure the purchase is not a bottleneck for them, because you don't want to buy a property and then realize it's unaffordable. So my key focus is always the affordability, and if there's not rent in for 2 months, what's your contingency plan to cover the diaspora mortgage or, not having that cash flow. So I think it's really making sure the buyer is aware what they're doing before they purchase.
I feel you, and I know probably, Michael, you do that as well. You manage properties for people, and that is the assurance that I could stay away and have the assurance that definitely my investment is in good hands. Is that influencing people's ability to get finance the more?
To some extent, yes, it is. I think the property management arm of the business is to ensure that your property or your investment is in safe hands. So, as opposed to other developers, or let me know you say other developers, as opposed to people that might purchase a house. If you purchase a property with mortgage, you're expecting that it should be leased in order for you to repay. So if the property is not being managed to a certain extent, then you're in trouble because you can't make the repayment. And the problem now is you've put all your eggs into sort of one basket, and then you're in a situation where for 4 or 5 years, no tenant. The bank is going to repossess it. So to a very large extent, property management is really key. And yeah, very, very key. Yeah.
Michael, a word on that. Do you think that in the next 5 years, that will be an influencing factor?
What I do believe as well is that rather than looking at the rental income of a property, you should look at the capital appreciation of the property.
Okay.
We have prime locations, your Labonis, your Cantonments, but we also have areas that are maybe 25 minutes away from town, and your capital appreciation is better than having money in the bank in the UK.
Okay.
So taking finance on a lower rate in the UK and investing in Ghana and having a capital appreciation on that property is a way of making money as well. You could have it available for you for 1 month in the year, but then you're gaining the capital appreciation during the period where you're not there, so you can have it locked away. Right. So yeah, there's just different ways of looking at it.
Right. Okay, now the questions from yourselves. Any person to start with? The panelists at your disposal.
Thank you.
All right.
My question was for Goldkey. Is there an option where you just crowdfund and get a bunch of people to put money in just to build something? Not necessarily an off-plan property, but when you mentioned the car park that you guys are building, can we put money into that and then we get a return as well?
So for now, not yet. Not yet. We're looking at something not so direct in the pipeline. So you see me after, and then we talk. Yeah.
Yes, any other question for my panel? Yes, over there. Let me quickly come over to you.
Good afternoon. Really great to be here, and it's wonderful to see so many of us here looking at the prospects of investing and developing our home. My question is in relation to project management fees. What's the general level of project management fees in terms of helping to develop a construction project?
Percentage-wise, it can range between 15 to 25% of the total cost of construction. When you're looking to build in Ghana, there is a process that you need to go through, and that's quantifying the cost of building with material, transportation, waste, and all the expenses that go into it. Then there's a management fee on top of that cost that is spread over the construction period.
Right. There was a question here. On my right. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. A question, going back to Michael, because I understood the whole concept of the capital appreciation, but if one is going to invest in a property, particularly when you're not able to be there, the idea of cash flow or having a rental income that at least pays for the maintenance, the rent, etc., for the building is vastly important. And if one is not just looking at from a position where you just want to purchase a property for your eventual living over Ghana, but you just want to invest in property in Ghana, that aspect of not having the management there in terms of managing the property and, you know, that management company being responsible for filling the property with tenants is an issue, in my view. So can you say more about that and how you could get over that, or anyone on the panel? And also, with regard to mortgages, can you say a bit more about the eventual coming in of mortgages more? Again, because if you're going to put cash into a property, oftentimes you don't want it tied up in a property for long periods of time, so you want to use other people's money, or you want to find a way in which you can invest and that money come back to you in a short period of time, because oftentimes it's also about return on investment, and just putting money in a property that's going to be empty, etc. I think you understand my question.
Yes, definitely. Thanks for the question. So my explanation was just to show that there's different options to invest in Ghana. Prime locations, you have that option of getting a rental income on a monthly basis, whether it's a long lease or short term. You do your calculation to see whether it covers your payments on a monthly basis. But I was looking at the flip side, where you have money sitting down in the UK in equity, and then you can use that equity to purchase write-off and then grow your capital appreciation on another way of investing in Ghana. So yes, we do have the management system in the prime locations where you have apartments and gated communities, where there is that way of managing your flow of income on a property. But then on the flip side, where you look at areas that are now developing, you may not have that rental yield on a monthly basis. So looking at the capital appreciation on those investment options, it's just another way of looking at to get a return. Yeah.
I think what you said with the banking, it's still an emerging market. They're still regulating the terms, but just generally overview, typically the interest rates are between 11 to 12% on a diaspora mortgage. So again, that will impact whether it's affordable. I know at the moment here in the UK, we're still about 5% or 4.75. The rates went down the other day, thank God. So these are the different challenges, and I think you've got to look at your own personal cash flow. I think your question is so personalised. Each individual needs to look at what is affordable. Like, as I said, anyone comes to me, our consultancy solely looks at your why. And usually after the second question, the finance, 90% of the clients drop off because it's not affordable yet. But there's still the demand and interest. So it's all about us just making sure the purchase is affordable. So your question is really down to individual. What is your financial position? Yeah.
All right. Thank you. I've got a couple of questions here at the back. I'll start from my right.
So this question's directed to either of you that can answer. But if, from a landowner's perspective, if they're seeking joint venture options, how do we know what companies are interested, or what's the best way to get in contact with whoever to discuss further, or if it's a possibility? That's my question. I hope that makes sense.
I'll try my best. So I think trying to get your question right, is it that you're looking at the option to offer your land for a joint venture
Yeah, that's exactly
Okay.
it. Yeah.
So how do you get those developers? Is that what you're...
Yeah, that may
Right.
be interested in that.
Okay, it just really depends on the location in which your land is located in Accra or outside of Accra. It could be an area where kind of demands housing, as in town housing, rather than apartments. So it could be a commercial, it could be on a main street. So it really depends on where it's located, and then you'll find that developer that's actually developing in that location. So.
But, sorry, what's the best way to go about finding those developers to then have that conversation and ask the right, yeah, if that...
Ghana is different. Oh.
I guess probably
sorry.
I would push the question to Anna.
Okay.
Is your platform an avenue for people with concerns like this?
I mean, we'll signpost you. We don't get involved in JV. I think, like everything in properties, location, location, location. If it's a prime location, I'm sure everybody in here will be wanting to JV with you. You know, if it's really like 2 hours out of Accra, you're only going to have a small pool. I would suggest that maybe you speak to one of our staff, to the panel, just so we can understand where your property or where your land is, and then really give you a signpost. That's what we could do. Yeah.
All right, great.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll come to the next question over here.
So my question is around inheritance in some ways. So if you inherit when you lose parents, how do you maintain those properties that you then inherit, or how do you get maybe property developers to support you in that space?
I was going to say inheritance. You're ahead of the next panel.
Okay.
So they will definitely, we'll get the experts on those. Thank you.
Right. Any further questions? I'll come to the front. Yes. Okay. I'll give it to him.
Thank you. Just going back to the gentleman's question here, sorry to go back, but it might be directed at yourself, Michael, or maybe Anna. But for a first-time buyer here in the UK, there's a lot of emphasis on get your foot on the property ladder and go from there. What would be your advice then, or why would you say a first-time buyer who's in a position to buy here in the UK, where it's, you know, the market rises, it falls, but it's quite a guaranteed investment, and you can expect over maybe 20, 30 years you're going to see a return on investment. Why would you then, what would you then say to a first-time buyer to convince them to maybe invest that same deposit in Ghana, which is sounding like it's still on the up and coming? It's not got the same kind of stability that the UK property market has.
Thank you. So we need to put a Ghanaian hat on. Yeah. Developments in Accra, around Accra, at the beginning of construction, you get an off-plan price. And that off-plan price ends up being a lot more when it's completed. And that's your growth. That growth can now enable you to jump on the property market. So you just kind of need to look at it with a different hat. I know in the UK, you acquire property, you wait for some time, you get your rental income, you take out your equity, you may be able to buy a bit more later or bigger. But in Ghana, you can actually buy at the beginning of construction, and at the end of construction, you may make 20% profit on that capital that you've put in. So that's a way of kind of jumping on a property ladder. So it's just a different hat to the UK. Yeah.
Yes. I will, because I have about just 3 to 4 minutes left, but I'll give Sado the last bit. And in your roundup, what I would ask is, where or what are the future hotspots for investment in Ghana? Think about that. I'll go to Ms. Sado.
Thank you very much. In relation to the credit score, we were having the credit bureau for some time now, and we're having challenges with the data. But coming with the national ID, now we are moving better. So just yesterday, the credit score department has been launched. So we advise that as Ghanaians, even with that, we are going to include people with Momo. It's not going to be only the banking sector. Because the data with the banking sector, we're having challenges. Now we are even going to include people with Momo. So we are encouraging them, if you borrow from even 10 cedis from MTN, you better pay. Because some few years to come is going to have effect on you. So the credit score has been launched, and moving forward, we are going to get into these things. And if you hear that, you always ask you, since last year, linking your national ID with a telephone number, with this, with that, it's all because we want to get to a point where when you are borrowing, you can be identified as a person, so that the interest rate can be reduced. So that's where we are going. Thank you.
Baby steps.
Very vital information. Thank you very much. Now my question.
Hotspots.
Yes.
If I tell you, then I won't be in business anymore. Anyway, we have areas on the outskirts of Accra. Oyaifa is doing well. You have North Legon, Obokba, because I'm developing there soon. You've got the prams, you've got the abrees. It depends on what you're looking for. A lot of people are looking for like resorts. So you've got like going to the central region. Kumasi is picking up. There are many people from the Volta region, so let's not forget that. Within Accra, there's some pockets of opportunities. I would say Teshinungwa is an area that you should look at because it's right in the middle of everywhere, but yet hasn't been developed. You have South Labadi now. You've got all the results happening in South Labadi. Owusu is changing from residential to commercial, so we're looking at commercial stuff. East Legon and beyond East Legon Hills. There are link roads getting to Dodua. So you just need to get in and find your routes. But there's so many things happening in and around Accra.
Afua, would you be out of business if you tell me?
No.
I'll be making more money. So Goldkey is known to develop in the prime areas. So the Knightsbridge and on Monopoly, Park Lane, I guess those areas. But so we developed basically airport cantonments range. But what we're doing now is we've launched what we call Goldkey Comfort, which is still premium. And we're starting with Chado. Chado's one place everyone is sleeping on. So our office is in the EY building, which is in Cantonments, close to Dankwa Circle, Owusu. And from my office to our Chado new site is 10 minutes. 10 minutes to leave a prime area to go to Chado, which is up and coming. I mean, the roads, if you've been to Ghana within the last year, you realize that the speed at which Chado is developed is really, really it's sort of, the rate at which it's developed, the prices of the land is really gone up. Basically, a studio in Cantonments will go for about 100,000. Chado will be half of that, but it's 10 minutes. Proximity is 10 minutes. What that's telling you is that I would rather live in Chado than Cantonments because, so what's going to happen within the next year or two is that if you invest in a property, I'm not just saying this because we're building in Chado, but it's the truth. If you should invest in a property in Chado, now that's probably 50,000, 59.99. In a year or two, that property most likely is going to go up because there's a rush to go there because the land prices compared to Cantonments, there's a vast difference. We're talking millions and hundreds of thousands. So Chado is a place to look at. If you're buying for investment, come see me. Chado is a place to look at. From now, the next 5 years, we'll sit here and I'll tell you, those that invested in Chado will make their money back. Studios, 5 years.
Well, you couldn't have gotten it anywhere than from here.
Come and see me as well.
Tell people to come tomorrow because there will be more. Yes, Anna.
I think I'll use the analogy of where we are right now. Battersea, it's not Chelsea, we're in Battersea. They even changed the postcode because it's now SW11. It used to be SW8. Exactly what Afua is saying. Look out for the areas that are being invested in. I'd rather have, a property that is going to earn in the future. if we're looking at location, Ghana, we know Cantonments, Laboni, Airport is what? Knightsbridge, Kensington, Belgravia. So those areas are expensive. And I think what's happened here, you have the East Legons, you have the Chados. All these areas are great. They're going to get only better. Look at the population numbers, and that will tell you where Ghana's going, where Africa's going. There's certain data that cannot be manipulated. So I would say that, you know, these areas, up-and-coming areas are great. As I said, it's all about your cash flow pocket. If you can wait for these areas to really catch up, obviously the rental figures will be slightly lower at the moment because it's being developed. But look at Battersea, they pumped in £4 billion. You've got Embassy Gardens, you've got Vauxhall, which used to home the homeless. They used to have YMCA. And look what's happened in the last few years. Accra is the same. Manhattan is the same. What I'm trying to say is Ghana's doing nothing different than to any other city, capital city in the world. We all have the same 5 problems. Traffic, too much pollution, growing population, not enough schools. Well, London is decreasing because everyone wants dogs, but do you know what I mean? So that is Africa. So we just need to change our mindset. It's the fear. And the fear is rightfully to be there because we've been exchanging stories for 20, 30, 40 years of auntie who sells Kenke, who told you to buy the land in up the road. So we're changing the narrative. So just keep educating yourself. You know, the hotspots are there. So we've given you the guide to do the homework and make those good steps. Thank you.
Just last month, we were having the Black History Month, and in my borough, we're saying reclaiming our narrative. I would want to change it and say we are redefining our story, and we're going the positive way. On point, thank you very much. Afua, Michael, and Anna, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a round of applause for them. If you need any further information from them, they are around. And as I said, we'll be setting up the surgery over here.